Hello, 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 and welcome to the zone where we help entrepreneurs like you elevate your communication skills. And we do this every week with a special guest, and today's guest is Bruce Scheer. Bruce is one of my favorite guests here on this program. Bruce, welcome to the show. Welcome back. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Bruce Scheer?
Oh, okay. Bruce Scheer. Bruce Scheer is, oh boy, in the third act of my career. I've been working for about 30 years across Asia Pacific, Europe, North America. I recently founded a company called ValuePros.io, and our mission is to help turn sales reps into value professionals buyers love. And I love the topic that we're going to be talking about today because that just gets everything starting in the right direction.
Indeed, indeed. And, sales is such an important aspect. This show is all about communication. Sales is all about communication, right? And today we are going to talk a little bit about something that so many people perhaps perceive wrongly, and that is charisma. So many people that I'm talking with, they believe that charisma is something that we are born with. And you are here today to convince us that that is not necessarily the case, right? So, in just one sentence, how would you define charisma?
Well, in the context of what we'll be talking about today, it's how you show up is what I want to talk about, and how you show up will exude charisma. So we'll unpack this in a big way, but why don't we talk about just how do we show up?
Awesome. How do we show up? And you have found a formula, something very, very easy to remember. Tell us a little bit about your model to improve your own charisma, to improve how you show up in any situation, whether that's online or whether that's in real life.
Claudia, one thing I found is before kind of breaking into a model, gosh, we better start with a bigger, why show up with charisma? And the topic that I typically talk about with my audiences is, we want to connect with charisma. And the ultimate goal, especially in the enterprise sales domain that I play a lot in, I want to connect with someone. And why do I want to do that? And Claudio, I think I mentioned to you that my son and I had a big old debate about this, and where we landed together was this definition, for the big why. We want to show up with charisma. That means we show up on purpose, on our purpose. What are we trying to achieve, both for ourselves and also for others? But what's our purpose in the world? We want to show up on purpose with presence. And then again, you can see the hand there, for others. And, ultimately, my son and I agreed, hey, we want to serve others. That is very fulfilling. It's noble. It's worthy. So we want to do that. But to do that, we need to connect with charisma. And Claudio, I talked a little
Mhm.
bit. Do you remember us discussing the halo and the horn effect?
Absolutely do. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So, when you show up, based on the studies that I've seen, you've got between nanoseconds to 4 seconds to create a first impression.
Mhm.
Now, the impression's an impression, and the human brain's wired to quickly assess someone based on sight, sound, but literally within up to 4 seconds based on all the studies I've seen. And the way you show up dictates what people might call the horn effect or the halo effect or the horn effect. Now, the halo effect is this. Within those 4 seconds, somebody's going to make an assessment about you. And if it's a positive assessment about you, a positive first impression, you'll have a halo. In their mind, you're going to, anything you do post that point, they're going to reinforce why that's a good first impression, why you're a
Mhm.
good person. That's called the halo effect. So that first impression stays with you post those 4 seconds. And through another psychological concept called cognitive bias, prove to themselves that, hey, you are a good person based on the halo effect that you establish in those first 4 seconds. Now, the opposite can happen as well, where it's called the horn effect. You don't show up well, and they're going to, not think highly of you. And, it's just going to take ages to try to change that first impression. So these first impressions that we send over the first 4 seconds, they stay with people. And
Mhm.
you've probably heard that maxim: you never get a second chance to make a positive first impression.
Sure thing.
It's really hard. It can happen, but it's rare, especially in the world of enterprise sales that I deal in. Sometimes you just got one shot, one moment of truth, and you better show up and show up well. And that's what I mean by connect with charisma. You just want to show up with your best and exude charisma, and then you get that ball rolling in the right direction with that potential buyer or person that you're trying to influence.
This is really, really fascinating. Now, you say 4 seconds. What do people pay attention in these 4 seconds? I mean, it's probably mostly non-verbal signals that we are sending out. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, it is. But I'd even have us go backwards just a little bit. What are the signals we want to send within those four
Hmm.
seconds?
Hmm.
What's the
Right.
impression that we want formed about ourselves? Because
Hmm.
that'll dictate how you show up, how you prepare, into the how land. But what signals do we want to send? So that's the big question. What signals you want to send. And then I would say, especially if I'm meeting with somebody, I want somebody to think of me as, hey, I met Bruce Scheer. He's sharp, he's
Hmm.
enthusiastic, and he's knowledgeable in a very relevant way. Those are probably the three key attributes that I'd like my target buyers to be thinking about me based off that first impression that's established in those first 4 seconds: sharp, enthusiastic, and knowledgeable. Claudio, do you have some attributes that you would like to be known by within the first 4 seconds?
I think in my case, it's really enthusiasm, right? So you listed there
Ah,
already. I'm not sure how
yeah.
sharp I am, quite frankly.
Ah,
I'm not sure how knowledgeable I am, but I buy myself some credibility often with just an abundance of enthusiasm, of
awesome.
passion. Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. No, I love it. So we all want to exude that. So like if those are some of the signals, again, I want to be sharp, enthusiastic, and knowledgeable in a very relevant way. How do I send those signals?
Hmm.
And that's where we can get into the model that I've been working on that I just love. And
Let's see
I
it.
call this model the brave model. And
Hmm.
and the catchphrase that I've got for it, Claudio, is people trust the brave. That's a good way to remember it. People trust the brave. So
Yeah.
the brave model, we can unpack it together, but and this is how we can send the right signals, if you would. So the B, oh, excuse me, and the signals that we send also can be sent through virtual meetings, as we are doing right now, both in
Hmm.
person and virtual. So let's go ahead and jump into the B. The B in the BRAVE model stands for body language. And you can see it right now. How's Bruce showing up sharp, enthusiastic, and knowledgeable? Look at my body language right now. I'm waving my hands around quite a bit. I'm speaking with my hands, making points. I just learned of a study just today, Claudio, that
Hmm.
if you use body language and your hands as you're telling a story, your story's 30% more memorable to that receiver.
Yes.
Isn't that wild? You
Yeah.
probably knew that already. That's the first time I'd seen that study. I'm like, oh, wow, that is absolutely awesome. But there's so many different ways that we can use our bodies to engage with somebody to send the right signal. And I'm sure we could both imagine how, not being enthusiastic, having a frown and, and slumped over, and, that would send signals that, gosh, this guy's kind of boring. He's not enthusiastic at all. So how do we use our bodies to do this? And posture is such a big part of this. In workshops, I normally teach people how to, have good posture, that you want to raise your arms all the way to the ceiling, drop to the side, tuck your chin in, and look people directly in the eye, to get your posture in the right place. And you can see I'm sending smiles through my body language, and a lot of different things going on here.
Yes. Yep.
Do you want me to continue or anything I
Sure,
missed? Because
sure, sure.
you're
Go
such a
on.
master in this area. Okay,
I
I'll
am
go ahead.
I am mesmerized here. I'm absolutely mesmerized, enjoying your presentation. So just continue, because I'm very, very
Okay,
curious. What is the R? What is the A? What is the
all
V
right.
and the E?
We'll get
So
going. We'll get
just
going. We'll get
pummel
going.
through it here, Bruce.
Okay. So R is for respect. And how do we establish that respect, especially so quickly? You can use respect by using the person's name, of course, as you're speaking. Letting them know that you know them. Um, I do a lot of homework typically, and so very quickly, as I meet with somebody, I'll even let them know, hey, I looked at your LinkedIn profile. Gosh, what an impressive background. What have you? But how do you prepare and exude that when you meet with somebody? That's a way to connect with charisma,
Hmm?
showing up with respect. Hey, I don't know if we both would know this gentleman, but he was one of the leaders out in Singapore, former chairman of SIA. Um, when I met with him, he used my first name, and I'd met him
Mm,
before, and I was just thinking, gosh, lowly me, and this big giant of a guy knew my name and used it right out of the gate. Of course, somebody
absolutely.
prepared him to do that. He's got a steel trap memory, but still,
Right.
he showed up prepared. And
Right,
and that
right,
that's what
right.
professionals do. Yeah.
Right. And names are so important. I mean, this
Mm,
goes back to the old classic, how to make friends and influence people, right? This is it's the sweetest word that hits our ears. It's our own name, right? So absolutely, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
and you probably heard it based on Dale Carnegie's work. If you want to be interesting, be interested. Very
Yes.
often with respect, you'll start by the courtesy of finding out how someone's doing and connecting with
Uh,
them, on,
yeah,
on their terms before you get into your stuff.
indeed.
So A, in the Brave framework. A stands for aesthetic, and a big part of aesthetic is appearance. But how do you show up? How do you appear for them? Are you well kept? See, I've got this collared on. I'm showing up with wanting to exude professionalism as we meet.
Hmm.
Like peers of mine would dress this way. So part of my appearance in a virtual world. You probably heard, your background's the new business suit. But notice I've got a plant here. I've got a painted wall behind me. I've created effectively a stage for how I show up virtually. And I want to create a nice looking aesthetic. I've got this beautiful light in front of me. It's called a soft light to create good lighting upon me, so I don't look like a criminal in a cage. You can see my eyes and everything here. So just trying to master the overall aesthetic of how you show up.
Yeah.
Even these little visuals that I'm using with you right now as part of the
Hmm.
aesthetic,
Hmm.
is a strategy for creating charisma. Any thoughts on that, Claudio?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know each other for quite a while, and one of my focuses is on-screen presence, right? You've probably
Hmm.
heard this from me as well. You know, on-screen presence is your new business attire. I even run a community called Online Presenters to help people uh, get through the overwhelm that they have with all of the different tools that are out there, and understand that just a small little shift in your framing, for example, can make a huge, huge difference in how you are coming across. And I am actually delighted and pleased to see how over the last 2, 3 years, people have begun paying more attention to it. We are
Hmm.
not seeing too many meetings anymore where people are framed so that we look up their nostrils, or have a feeling that, they're looking up on us or whatever. Light is, of course, very, very important, and sound as well. So, yeah, that to me, how you show up is so important. And what's next?
Okay. On the next, in the models, V is part of the Brave model, V, and V stands for voice. So how, your voice is so incredible. I think you and I have talked a little bit about this. Oh yeah, we did. We talked about a study out of USC, Claudio,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where they were professors, research professors were on stage, providing their findings, and they varied the audio across these professors. And what they found, audio wasn't very good for the professor. Bad microphone, bad delivery, but just the audio experience for the audience wasn't very good. They were discounted in terms of their credibility and their findings. So their content took a hit because of their bad audio.
Yeah.
There was another study during the pandemic around witnesses, because a lot of courtrooms became virtual, and witnesses that had bad audio, bad voice, were deemed to be less credible as witnesses, less trustworthy
Mhm.
as witnesses. So, audio is incredible. My son is an award winning, he won a motion picture award for the
Oh.
latest Spider-Man movie, doing sound editing for that, sound design. And
Oh.
he's just a rock star video sound guy.
Mm-hmm.
We both agreed that audio is kind of like air. You don't know the air is bad until you can really smell it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
normally you don't, you're just subconsciously, you might be aware, but consciously you're not. Bad
Mm-hmm.
audio is kind of the same way. You're not really conscious of it until it's really bad. And then if it's that bad that somebody even highlights it, show's over. You did not connect with charisma at all.
Yeah.
Um, but subconsciously, people, disconnect with bad audio. There was another YouTube study that showed this dramatic fall off rate, and because of bad audio, they varied the audio for videos, and they found that with bad audio, the fall off rate, just really went fast.
Yeah.
So when they went back to talk to the YouTube watcher, said, "Hey, we noticed that you didn't finish that video. What was going on?" "I just didn't like the content. Just wasn't any good for me." So they just discounted the whole experience and took off. When you're in your virtual meetings and you have bad audio, of course, that's when the multitasking begins. They just switch off. So audio, and voice is just imperative. If you need to make an investment in anything, get a great microphone, but then also use your voice. The voice is just such a beautiful tool to use. The pacing, the pitch, the intonation, just the power of the voice. Is so many different ways to take advantage of this beautiful instrument we've been given.
This is so profound because you've mentioned now a couple times the word unconsciously. We are
Mhm.
not aware of these things, right? Not consciously. We are not thinking about them. And we are
Mhm.
also sending these signals unconsciously. And that is why practice is so important, that it becomes second nature, right? And so this is in a way a brutal insight that our behavior is unconsciously judged by our unconscious actions. Is that
Hmm.
fair
Hmm.
enough to say?
Oh yeah, yeah, very much so. But the important thing for your audience is let's get conscious about this. I know we all
Yes.
care. We want to
Yes.
show up on purpose. We do have a purpose. We want to
Indeed.
connect with presence, for others.
Yeah.
So that's where this gets really exciting because it's not taught in school. I've never seen it as part of a curriculum for anything.
Yeah.
I know I had to go find a platinum YouTuber to learn from.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
and I both use this service called Ecamm, which has a university and lots of experts that
Yeah.
kind of live and breathe these types of things.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just not your normal human isn't taught this stuff. And it's really sad. They're still using
It
their
is.
webcam on their laptop. They're using the microphone on the laptop, and it's just not good stuff at all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the problem is nobody really gets the fact that it matters, and it really, really does in terms of how you connect.
Well, that's
Maybe
why
we'll roll to
that's why
the.
we are
Go
here,
ahead.
right? To shout this message from every single rooftop that we can stand on. And now I'm totally curious. What does the E stand for? Let's
The
continue
E,
with the model.
the E is for engagement. So,
Ah.
we do have those few seconds, but out of the gate, we want to engage one way or another. I've been engaging the audience with these cool little, animated visuals. That's a way that you can create engagement. I just saw a statistic the other day that only 13% of sellers actively use visuals like I'm using right now. But if you do use them, the focus and attention goes up 92%. So it's just how can you visually engage? How can you ask great questions to engage? Um, there's so many, or I think I had mentioned to you when I join a Zoom meeting, if I see somebody in there I know, I'll go, "Hey, Claudio, how are you, man? Haven't seen you in a while." I'll shoot you a quick chat as
Mhm.
the meeting is rolling, just connecting and through engagement. So lots of different ways to do this, but if you do want to connect with engagement is so critical. Don't make it all about yourself. Get that other person engaged one way or another.
Wow, this is absolutely great. So this is your model, brave,
It
and
is. Yeah. People trust the brave.
people trust the brave. I absolutely love it. And what I love even more is that you put together a quick cheat sheet for our audience that they can download. Let me bring up the link for those who are interested. Here we go. There's a QR code. Scan the QR code and you get directly to the document, or visit bit.ly/connect with charisma. And make sure that the spelling is like you see it on the screen, capital C, capital W, capital C. And you'll get to this really powerful reminder that it's all about being brave to increase
Exactly.
your charisma. Now, Bruce, when you meet with people and you're teaching them to become more brave, what is the first thing that you usually put your focus on?
Oh, it's a little bit of a philosophy. When I'm teaching this, I also have mantras
Mhm.
or the letters in Brave. I call them mindset mantras. Just to get yourself in the right place mentally and spiritually, probably, but just to get grounded. Why do I want to show up brave? And how do I
Mhm.
think about my body? How do I think about respect? Just going through, how do I think about my aesthetics? I've got mindset mantras to get people in the right spot. And then also, the reason I say people trust the brave, you need to be brave to go out and connect with others with charisma. And that comes from getting things right within yourself. your confidence, your enthusiasm, how you want to
Yeah.
change the world, how you want to help others. Really get centered in that. So then you can manifest and exude outwards with charisma.
I love it that you started with I've got these mantras because I believe that, our feelings, they transmit to others. And if we are not feeling great, if we are not inside enthusiastic about something, other people, well, how can we expect them to become enthusiastic about something if we are not leading the way, right? So the feelings, the mindset that we have is so important. It's the foundation of everything. It basically drives your entire model, right? Because your body language, if you are feeling great, if you're feeling on top of the world, your body language automatically shows that, right?
It does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I learned that from my oldest son, when he became a national rower for the United States, and yeah, that's back in his high school years. But boy, at that time, his posture was so great, chest was out, just showing up with full conviction and confidence. So wonderful, and I got to watch him transform into that from not feeling that way, with shoulders hunched over, etc. So it
Yeah,
is, I do encourage people to do some internal work. And as you say, what's inside gets manifested externally. Even as people smile, we both
yeah,
probably know what a fake smile is.
yeah, sure.
They've been given a name, they call it the Pan Am smile, where somebody smiles, but they're not really smiling. Their mouth looks like they're smiling, but
Right, but the
the
eyes are.
eyes don't, change. Yeah, versus the French term, the Deschamps smile. The eyes change. The eyes are smiling and the mouth is smiling, and that comes from typically a pretty good place internally. So, yeah, get things right with you, and then go share that with the world. But you
That's
can
it.
through these mantras, though. What I've learned is you can do some self work, and again, just work to get your mind in the right spot.
Wonderful, wonderful. We are almost at the end of our time here. So let me ask you one question, and that is, can you share one of these mantras with our audience?
Oh, give me a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and this might have been something that I was doing for my son, but my
Mm-hmm.
appearance, we
Mm-hmm.
talked about the aesthetic, right? And
Yep.
my son likes to wear a man bun sometimes, and then long
Okay.
hair, and um, but he thinks of it as, my appearance is an extension of my message. So he goes to job sites and works, with people that are hardcore blue collar. He'll wear the right blue collar attire when he goes to job sites. He wants to
Yeah.
connect with people where they're at. He's still, good looking and well groomed, but he puts on the right clothing for that context. He doesn't want to show up in a white shirt and a
Yeah.
cardigan sweater when everybody
Yeah.
else is wearing flannel shirts and showed up to
Right.
work for a living. And
Right.
but when he's in the corporate offices, he dresses completely different. He'll have a
Okay.
jacket, etc. So, but
Mm-hmm.
that's, my appearance is an extension of my message based on where I'm at. That's one thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Another mindset
Mm-hmm.
mantra is, when I look sharp, I feel sharp. And it's true. I
Yes.
don't know if that's
Yes.
true for you, but my dad's
Absolutely.
96. My
Mm-hmm.
dad's 96. He's been retired since 62. He still shows up every morning. He gets ready for the day. And he
Yep.
knows when he looks sharp, he feels sharp. And he dresses for himself, but then that's it exudes outside of him as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, just one more time for our audience, here is the link to download the Brave Model by Bruce Scheer. And there is more in it. So, click that link or scan that code because Bruce is also sharing a what is it, the 5P model, something like that
It
in
is,
the
yeah, yeah.
same
It's an extra
document.
bonus in that bonus, and it's
Yeah,
the five P's,
exactly.
but it's how to show up and introduce yourself.
Yep.
Very often, that doesn't go well for a lot of people, but this 5P model helps frame that,
I
and
love
so
it.
that's just an extra bonus for people. I used myself as an example of how to follow that, and I
Yeah,
would encourage you, use it, and you could even practice it with ChatGPT. I was doing that the other day, just
exactly.
getting ready for a networking event. Knew I was going to meet probably 20 new people at least, and I wanted to get kind of my personal introduction down following the
Right,
5P model.
right, right. Well, Bruce, this has been such a delightful conversation. Thank you so much for spending your time here. I already look forward to your next appearance here. Maybe we'll take a closer look at the 5P model then. In the meantime, thank you for watching our audience. And with that, I wish you a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see each other next time. Bye bye.